Okay. How's that for inspiration? Yeah, I feel like Superman now. We're back. Second half of the final hour with Travis. I am your guest host, the prophet of fiction. I'm hoping we'll get some calls later. We can be reached at 1512-248-8252, and I believe there's a second number, but I don't have it memorized. Let me try to resume where I left. I believe I was discussing Jeremiah's birthplace, Anathoth, which does translate into Thoth again, or Thoth returns. Thoth is the Egyptian god of writing. So Jeremiah is born in a place named after the Egyptian god of writing. I am arguing that one of the Bible's jokes is that the Jews were illiterate. Well, it turns out that Jeremiah actually couldn't read or write. He told Zephaniah, the priest, what to write for him, and Zephaniah read a letter to him, so he could neither read nor write. The name of the prophet Jeremiah is popular among English speakers. Jeremiah. Not among Jews. Well, what does that tell us? Was Jeremiah even a prophet? The Bible claims that Jeremiah received the word from the Lord when King Zedekiah sent him Pashur, son of Malchijah. Oh my gosh, these names. And the priest Zephaniah, son of Maaseiah. And this implies that Pashur and Zephaniah were the true prophets, and Jeremiah was merely their messenger. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 36, the authors wrote, I quote, Jeremiah dictated all the words the Lord had spoken to him, while Baruch wrote them on the scroll and read to the people from the scroll the words that you, Baruch, wrote as I dictated. Well, Baruch is a Jew name. That sounds like book, Baruch, which is what he writes. But he only writes what Jeremiah told him to write. And Jeremiah received the word of the Lord from Pashur and Zephaniah. Ironically, both names in the phrase Zephaniah, son of Messiah, are of African origin. Oh, yeah. You have to chase down these strange names sometimes. Well, let's consider Jesus, too. Another Jew, of course, the most well-known before he, I guess, changed his identity. But he was also illiterate. The Gospel of Luke says, I quote, he stood up to read, and the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him. Unrolling it, he found the place where it is written, the Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me. Then he rolled the scroll up, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. Well, he didn't read. Does this prove that Jews are portrayed as illiterate people in the Bible? A systematic reading of all biblical passages that use the word to write might help convince the doubters. The first verb to write occurs during the report that Moses took dictation from God when he wrote the Ten Commandments. Not, however, the original commandments, but the new ones that appear in Deuteronomy. The Bible claims that after the stones bearing the original commandments were accidentally broken, the Lord said to Moses, "Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke." But the new tablets of the 10 Commandments are not identical to the original and broken laws. Does that prove that God can't read or write? Or that the authors were jokers who lied to us? The theme of Jew illiteracy is reinforced by 12 Jew leaders commanded to write their names on their staffs, in the book of Numbers 17:2, and commanded to write the commandments on their door frames, Deuteronomy 6:9. Did they follow these commands? The Bible provides no evidence of it. The Lord also commanded Jew priests to write these curses on a scroll and then wash them off into the bitter water. A strange command to give. Very superstitious. That's in the book of Numbers 5:23. Well, but again, the Bible does not confirm that this command to write and erase was obeyed. That's not surprising. Scrolls and ink did not exist 3,500 years ago, in my humble opinion, and they only received the Lord's command to write while they were encamped in the desert, where paper and ink are nearly impossible to procure. Wow, there is so much on this topic. I haven't read through this chapter in maybe a couple of years. The remainder of the Torah, as well as the book of Joshua, contain several more commands to write. And predictably, they do not provide any evidence that these commands were ever obeyed. The book of Esther, again, continues the theme of the illiterate Jews. It reports that King Xerxes, again, instructed Queen Esther to write another decree in the king's name on behalf of the Jews, as seems best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring. For no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked. So Esther was authorized to write whatever she wanted on behalf of the Jews, which is exactly how the actual authors wrote the entire Bible. They wrote what they wanted, not what they were instructed. Was Esther a Jew? No, her name was derived from the name of the Swiss aristocratic family of the Eschers, spelled with an E-S-C-H-E-R, a name with such variations as Esser, E-S-H-E-R, very close to the spelling of Esther. It was first found in Swiss documents dating to the 1300s. The Esser family formed alliances with powerful nobles and princes. And not coincidentally, in the book of Esther, the queen, Esther, formed an alliance by marrying the powerful Persian king Xerxes. Coincidence or... yeah, you know what I'm saying. I have so many other things to share, and I have no idea how this is being received. I could move on to some other chapters. Let's do that. Let's move on to a little chapter I wrote about Genesis 3:22. That number should be familiar to some people familiar with Skull and Bones Society. For them, the number 322 is next to sacred. Why is that? You know, they have that lovely, what to call it, logo, the skull and the two crossed bones, the X. And beneath that is always the number 322. Well, it turns out Genesis 3:22 is an extremely interesting verse with some relation to the skull and bones theme. Well, I will quote myself now, read a little. Perhaps no other sentence in the Bible captures the spirit of the authors better than Genesis 3:22. In that one verse, they created the potential for doubt and controversy by writing that God referred to himself as us, and that God said humans have become like us. Did we become omnipresent or omnipotent, or did God mean humans began thinking, or what? To make matters worse, God expressed his unhappiness with this development. He does not want us to be like him. How unbecoming, how contrary to Christian theology. Well, why wasn't he proud of us for becoming like him? Shouldn't we be more godlike? Finally, God stated that he intends to prevent us humans, mere mortals. Are you ready for this? He wants to prevent us from becoming immortal. That's all in verse 3:22. He doesn't want us to be immortal, but that's madness. The desire for immortality is the heart of every religion. If God works to prevent us from becoming immortal, is he murderous? And we are reading an anti-religious book, and he is the anti-God. Well, coincidentally, the Skull and Bones Club, founded in 1832, is also known as the Order, or Order 322. Yeah, the Brotherhood of Death. It is a secret senior student society at Yale University. Its founders and members are all the good and shining beings who rule our political, cultural, and economic trash heaps. And yes, it is a death cult. And they are sadists, all of them. And probably adrenochrome addicts. Yeah, mortality for us, and, well, as close as possible to immortality for them. Which reminds me that, well, maybe I can get there later, but maybe not. Yeah, I do have something about adrenochrome later. Coincidentally, Genesis 3:22 is the 78th verse of the Bible and has 22 words. And the Tarot, is that how it's pronounced? The Tarot card deck has 78 cards with 22 major arcana. Well, weren't the authors clever? Additionally, the number 22 has two sets of 11, a Masonic number. March 22, also 322, is the date on which the Knights Templar were officially disbanded in the year 1312. But the number of this year is probably a numerological invention, because if we replace the two ones with a 2, we get the number 322 again. Why did the authors choose the number 322? The human skull has 22 bones, and 3 extra bones exist in each human ear. Oh, all the number games. And yes, they were vivisectionists. And they loved to take apart human bodies. The number 322 also occurs in the imperial Roman cult, so-called Roman cult. According to our fake historians, during the late imperial period, the Ides of March celebrations marked the Holy Week of festivals. Celebrations began on March 15th. That day was known as Cana Intrat, or the Reed Enters. The Reed, R-E-E-D, like the weed that grows on riversides. Often, I think it's typically hollow inside. Well, the reed enters. Cana Intrat. Cana, like Cain. It sounds a little sexual and clitoral, not literal. The reed enters. On that day, according to legend, Attis was born and found by Cybelus, shepherds among the reeds of a Phrygian river, just as Moses was found among the reeds of the Nile River. The goddess Cybele, or is it a silent E, Cybele, who was known as the Magna Mater, Great Mother, or was known as her. A week later, on March 22nd, that's 322 again, the solemn commemoration of Arbor Intrat, the tree enters, the tree, an entire tree, commemorated the death of Attis. I think it's a bull under a pine tree. A college of anti-life priests, the Dendrophoroi, tree bearers, annually cut down a tree and hung it as an image of, hung it in an image. I miswrote something, which they carried into the temple of Magna Mater, an image of Attis. A 3-day period of mourning followed, culminating with celebrating the rebirth of Attis on the 25th of March, a possible date for Christian celebrations of Christ's resurrection, and always the vernal equinox on the Julian calendar. Well, this number 322 has quite a lineage, and I should add something I've become aware of more recently, since writing this. These references to the reeds, R-E-E-D-S, are connected with the cult of Pan, and it's imaginary, but it exists in books, and the cult of Dionysus and Bacchus. I think Bacchus wanted, who was that goddess? And she quickly turned into some reeds, which she quickly cut and turned into a panpipe. But my investigations have discovered a link between reeds and hypodermic needles. Both are longish, hollow objects. And the hypodermic needles, or syringes, the word syringe is the basis of the Greek god Syrinx, the temple of Syrinx. I've also done a long lecture on that, available on my YouTube channel, just Prophet of Fiction. So this number 322 is connected to immortality and death, and connected to the idea of, or the word read, which is related to hypodermics used by this sick cult that rules this world, that is also obsessed with prolonging its lives through injecting the blood of, I believe, unfortunately, young children. Somehow that helps them live longer and perhaps feel younger. Yes, it's important, and maybe have softer skin. Who knows? But I don't think it's working too well. Let's see. Last a couple more points on this number 322. Genesis 3 ends with verse 24. The absence of a 25th verse implies no resurrection, which reinforces the anti-life theme of Genesis 3. The Georgia Guidestones were erected on March 22nd. They were destroyed 42 years later. Well, erected on March 22nd, 1980, destroyed on July 7th, which is a 7-7, or 7-11. 7-11. Well, enough of 322. What else do I have for you? Let's see. How about Germans in Genesis? Yeah, wonders never cease. No, let's hold off on that and go to, since I was talking about adrenochrome, let's go to a chapter concerned with that topic. Adrenochrome, Enoch, and Methuselah. One of the greatest lies of civilization is that native people lived short, brutish lives, and that civilization has helped increase lifespans, brought peace and better quality of life. I call that delusionary nonsense. We have no statistics for the lifespans of native pre-civilized peoples. We only know that health and lifespans crashed in Europe during the Industrial Revolution, and industrialization and colonization destroyed the health and lifespans of people around the world. Now, 100 years after the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, plumbing arrived, and imported tropical food arrived, not to mention a little later high-tech life support systems. So thanks to those three developments, lifespans returned to normal, I would say. Lifespans increased, yes, relative to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. So presently, a small percentage of people maybe function at optimal health. Most of us have our struggles and pains, and that's not improving with time. I am not entirely at optimal health, but doing well, thanks to my diet and my natural medicine. Say no more. The Bible helps promote the illusion that civilization is good for our species. It claims that despite being cast out of the native world, the Garden of Eden, Adam and several generations of his descendants lived very long lives. Somehow, unbelievably, Adam, despite becoming the first field laborer, really, that's heavy physical work. I think my grandfather actually worked in such horrible conditions early mornings before sunrise, shoveling in a field, digging potatoes, planting potatoes with nothing but a shovel. In the wettest country on earth, maybe. Sounds like fun. Yeah, but somehow Adam lived 930 years and remained sexually active until at least the age of 130. What was he doing right? After him, 9 generations of men lived multiple centuries, most past 900. Maybe there's just an extra zero on all those, an extra digit on all those numbers, eh? Just like so many dates. You know, I think just about history makes more sense if you subtract one digit from the years, any year above 1,000, including 1,000. Yes, just delete a zero. I think I'm not the first to suggest that. Who is that Russian academic, Anatoly Fomenko, who first introduced, I think it was him and his peer, his partner, argued that an extra 1,000 years were shoved into history by Western European historians, who was the man mostly allegedly responsible for that. I have forgotten his name. A Renaissance author, I believe. Well, back to these long-lived early people in the Bible. After those 9 or 10 generations, the list of lifespans abruptly ends with the flood and the Tower of Babel incidents. Then 9 more generations only live 1 or 2 centuries each, and Abraham is the 10th. Curiously, 10 generations are listed before the flood and tower stories, and 10 generations are listed after. I guess God loves symmetry, and the double X of Roman numerals. Yeah. Next, God indiscriminately punished mankind by limiting the lifespans of all living and future humans to 120 years. But afterwards, 9 more generations exceeding 120 years are listed. So the decision must have been made after the 9th generation had already lived beyond 120. Why does God love the number 10? Yeah, who knows? Yeah, that number makes more sense in Roman numerals. The X. But we're coming up to another break. Per usual, I will see you on the other side.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network. Real news, real talk, real people. Because you can handle the truth.
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammation, and anti-parasite properties. So the tea is great for healthy people because it helps build the immune system, and it can truly be miraculous for someone fighting a potentially life-threatening disease due to an infection, diabetes, or cancer. The tea is also organic and naturally caffeine-free. A 1-pound package of tea is $49.95, which includes shipping. To order, please visit drinksupertea.com. The first word is drink, spelled D-R-I-N-K, then the word super, then the word tea. The complete website is drinksupertea.com. or call us at 818-965-9113, Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. California time. That's 818-965-9113. DrinkSuperTea.com.
Extendivite, a 7-herb combination of garlic, cayenne, hawthorn, bilberry, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Extendivite is designed to strengthen the heart and arteries and help the body heal itself. Doctors are not able to explain the improvements they are seeing in their patients' health who are taking Extendivite. People who once needed more pills are now taking less and getting better. Due to the unexplainable improvements in their patients' health, more doctors are calling to order Extendivite for themselves. Help Extendivite make your doctor a believer. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've been using the X39 LifeWave patches every day since December 2023. The X39 patch has helped with pain relief and my strength and stamina. Proper use of the X39 has been proven to significantly increase human GHKCU copper peptides in the body. Increasing the human production of copper peptides has been proven to increase healthy stem cell activity. Wear the X39 for 12 hours a day, giving yourself a 12-hour break before applying a new patch. Do this for 6 to 12 months. Continue daily use to maintain your health benefits and get regular checkups with your healthcare provider to track any internal progress you may not have noticed. It's quite extraordinary to be able to use the same technology used by U.S. Navy SEALs. The SEALs rely on LifeWave patches to accomplish their missions. Get started with the X39 at thelibertyman.com. If you don't have internet access, just call John Moore at 314-965-3007. That's 314-965-3007.
Do you truly want to stay out of the system? Are you prepared to buy into the biggest scam since the Iraqi dinar? If not, then put your money where it belongs, in your possession, not in the hands of an international MLM cartel. At Kettle Moraine Limited, we will provide you with the finest Swiss-minted detachable gram sheets of pure 24-karat gold for hundreds of dollars less than the so-called privately issued credit cards with elusive gold backing. Gold backing? The only gold that I want is in my back pocket, not backed by promises of an operation even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is suspect of, giving a rating of C-. To get the full story, visit SierraMadrePreciousMetals.com and go to the Valcombe Bullion Vault. Once you have read the whole story about the scam being perpetrated on an unsuspecting public and how you can avoid being a victim by purchasing these beautiful, barterable, tradable sheets of gold at tremendous savings and in the strictest of privacy, be prepared to take the steps to protect your wealth with the purchase of the real deal. Detachable 50-gram gold bars from Kettle Moraine Limited by calling 602-799-8214. Ask about our 1-ounce Valcombe detachable bars, which break into 1/10-ounce bars. And don't forget, for all of your precious metal needs, whether buying or having the need to sell, call Kettle Moraine Limited. Remember, no dinar, no celery, and no carrots. If you buy from someone else, tell them you want AU, not BS. Call Kettle Moraine Ltd. today at 602-799-8214. Kettle Moraine Ltd. 602-799-8214.
wow. That was Thus Spake Zarathustra by the Berliner Philharmonica, I believe. That was I guess it was composed in honor of Friedrich Nietzsche's book of the same title. A book that I was somewhat, certainly obsessed with in my around the age 19. But it's such a it's a rich book. Is it philosophy? Is it fiction? It's full of aphorisms and little stories. And I read so much Nietzsche in my early adulthood. But as I grew older and wiser, I realized that really Nietzsche and I share nothing in common. Hey, it was fun reading, but then I realized, hey, this man has no interest in family, friends, no interest in nature, apparently no interest in art. Not much of a sense of humor. He's just a provocateur who liked to beat his anti-Christianity drum and maybe unfavorably compare Christianity to Judaism. Just a provocateur. A nihilist, smashing old European values, Christian values, and offering in their place nothing. Yeah, try to create a blank slate, maybe prepare us for the trash that was coming. Yes, that we're drowning in right now. I'm back from nowhere land. I don't know what happened. What was I saying? Nietzsche. Yeah, so I outgrew him when I realized we really have nothing in common. I'm not just a teenage rebel anymore. This man doesn't value anything. Apparently nothing, yes. He destroyed European Christian values as well as he could. And what did he offer us in return? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And, well, that's obviously on purpose, as planned. They'd like us to have no values, be amoral, and willing to accept whatever trash they feed us. And we're in a big pile of trash now, aren't we? No, I'm not a Christian, but I don't believe in, but I'm no nihilist. I have values, a conscience, and so on, none of which seem to matter to Nietzsche. Well, let's get back to Genesis and longevity, lifespans. Where was I? The number 120, and God seeming to like the number 10. He indiscriminately punished us all by limiting our lives to 120 years. Only 120. I'll be happy with 100. I was thinking of starting a club of middle-aged, a little past middle age, people who are determined to live to 100 and want to challenge themselves to do that. I don't know why more people don't do that. Like, life is good, or could be good, but hey, let's be hopeful. Then why not make an effort to make it to 100, in mostly good health. Now, I don't want to go the way my maternal grandmother went. Last 10 years were not fun. I'm not going to have anyone carrying me to a toilet. No, sir. The number 120, it's a good number too also. It's 1 plus 2, and the 0 is a 10. We have the number 13 again. Well, the prize for the longest life lived in the Bible goes to Methuselah, who was given 969 years, a number curiously similar to the number 666. Just flip those 2 9s and you have 3 6s. Methuselah's name appears to be a crypto-compound word constructed from the word meth, as in methylated spirits, which are toxic and can cause hallucinations. And the remainder of his name is Uselah, or Uselah, which spelled backwards is Halesu, which is suspiciously similar to the first 3 syllables of hallucinate. Seems like his name is encrypted with words that mean drugs, hallucinogens. Why is his name related to drugs? Because his father was Enoch, whose name is part of the word adrenochrome, ADR, Enoch, Rome. Not a coincidence. The word adrenochrome does not appear in the Bible, but here we have the name Enoch, part of adrenochrome, as the father of the longest-lived man in the Bible, and adrenochrome is associated with long life. Yeah, well, that's what I hear. After let's spell it M-Y-T-H, Methuselah, humanity experienced a gradual decline in longevity. Officially, we, or the Jews, made God so angry that he limited our lifespans to a maximum of 70 years. Yeah, 120 was too long. But no one can satisfy God, not even his son Jesus, whose life he terminated after a mere 33 years. You want to imitate Jesus? Might not be a good idea. If Methuselah's alleged age isn't enough to make us question the Bible's honesty and accuracy, the authors gave us a few other reasons related to Methuselah. According to Genesis 4, he belonged to the 6th generation of our species. But according to Genesis 6, he belonged to the 8th generation. Those two chapters also disagree about the spelling of Methuselah's name, and neither chapter tells us why God permitted him to live longer than anyone else, or what special diet permitted Methuselah to live so long. So I'm sticking to my adrenochrome thesis. What inspired his father, who was either Enoch or Mehujael? The Bible can't quite make up its mind. What inspired them, or him, to name their son Methuselah? Well, I have another theory, but I think I've said enough about Methuselah. We have 9 minutes left. Let me move on to the Germans in Genesis. Again, help confirm my theory that the Bible is not Hebrew or Jewish, not even Greek or Latin. It was manufactured in Western Europe. In Genesis chapter 33, a Masonic number for us, we find an inversion of history. It claims to describe the meeting between Jacob. The English equivalent is really James, who represents King James of the King James Bible. And Genesis 33 also mentions Jacob's elder brother, Esau, who represents another faction of the Western European nobility, the Nassau family, Esau and Nassau family, which joined the House of Orange and became the House of Orange-Nassau in my homeland, Netherlands. According to Genesis 33, Esau came to the meeting with 400 men, which suggests that Esau is prepared for battle. Jacob reacts like a coward. Quote, he put his maidservants and their children in front. Now, how do you like that? It's a cowardly trick meant to appeal to the enemy's conscience. But Esau embraced him, meaning Jacob. But in fact, this could represent one-on-one combat, maybe not a friendly embrace. Esau asked Jacob why he brought this whole company to meet me. Indeed, the word company has a long history of describing a military unit of between 100 to 150 soldiers. Jacob offered Esau an unidentified gift. And since I suspect Jacob is code for King James, the Bible is the gift. And that is a Trojan horse. Well, tricking Esau was Jacob's habit. He did, after all, trick him out of his birthright, his inheritance. because Esau was so hungry he needed some food, and Jacob said, "You can have it, but I'll have your claim to the inheritance." As the oldest son, Esau had that claim. And wasn't it Bishop Tutu who said, well, they gave us the Bible and they took the land? And it was a good trade for them. Alternatively, Jacob could be derived from a name Jaco, spelled with a J, by the way. Jaco is a Dutch name, Jacob and Jaco. But Esau was certainly derived from Nassau, another Dutch name. Therefore, they are brothers. The Nassau name is extremely appropriate for royalty in the German language, and a Nassauer is an economic parasite. But he differs from the scrounger in that he can be endured continuously over a longer period of time. And he is not a scammer because his actions are openly visible to all parties involved. Instead of tricking people and fleeing, the Nassauer convinces people that he deserves what he does not deserve. Well, that describes every royal family, every government, every bank, and much more. So the theme of depriving people of their wealth, their birthright, their land, even it's all there encoded in the names Esau and the story around him with his brother. According to the Oxford Dictionary, the word Jacobean is derived from Neo-Latin Jacobus, from Jacobus, the ecclesiastical Latin form of the English name James. Therefore, Jacob is James, specifically King James I. The Jacobians of England wanted the nation to return to the Stuart dynasty of King James I.
About 2 minutes.
Oh, right. Yeah, make sure I wrap up here. Just not quite enough time. After losing his inheritance, Esau Nassau becomes Edom. Edom is a near homophone in Edom, a town in the Netherlands. Well, that's a good place to stop. The Netherlands. What a nice name for your home country. I'm sure the people who loved living there didn't name it Netherlands. It means lowland and netherworld. Well, it is low-lying, but you wouldn't choose that as the concept for your name, the name of your home and land. In any case, I hope this has been informative and maybe persuasive. The Bible is not what it claims to be, what people imagine it to be. It demands close readings, knowledge of other languages, numerology, some history. Let us beware of books. Nietzsche's books included. Really, I haven't found many books I recommend. I do teach children. I always hesitate to recommend books. Be well all. Take care. Be healthy. This is the Prophet of Fiction signing off.
Did you know the IRS publicly admits that income tax is collected by voluntary compliance? Get the information you need to help you avoid income tax with these 5 easy steps. All you have to do is go to avoidincometax.com to get your 5 easy steps on how to avoid the IRS income tax. Escape the IRS. Let avoidincometax.com help you. We guarantee our 5 easy steps or your money back. Go to avoidincometax.com.
Susanna's Secret, Real Essential Oils of Nature, would like to thank you and RBN listeners for your previous purchases. We're announcing that we have a new waterless diffuser in stock with a full 1-year warranty. You just insert the bottle to the top, screw it in, tip it upside down, set your timer, or it's also motion activated at FURION.com. That's FURION.com. That's FURION.com.